Good morning, Algebra 2 kids. This is Dr. Callahan with Week 5 Friday. So you have your warm-up log right here. Go ahead and answer the following 3 questions. So pause the video and we'll continue shortly. Okay, so this is week 5 and our topic is still on graphing rational functions. It's our last day talking about this. So next week, we're going to go ahead and go on to something else. Keep in mind that you have your Math Excel. It's assigned Monday. And also your quiz on Math Excel is assigned on Wednesday. It is all due on Sunday by 11 p.m. If you miss that deadline, you can still take it due and turn it in. But there is a slight penalty for it. And your grades are updated every single Wednesday. So just keep that in mind. I've noticed that some of you guys are like literally stuck to your cell phones the entire class period. And if that is your thing, I'm not going to poke the bear and try to, make you upset. But at the same time, you guys are juniors and seniors, and well, most of you guys are juniors, or some of you guys are sophomores. Just keep in mind that when you show up in class, I love seeing your happy faces, but the highest grade you'll get if you don't turn anything in is 55%. Okay, so that's not passing. So in order to pass a class, you have to get at least a 60%. So you would literally need to turn things in and give me 60% effort to pass this class. So if you're just coming in and looking at your cell phone, you're not taking your guided notes, and you're just simply doing that. I know you guys had Mr. Topu last semester, and I love William, and he's a great teacher, but unfortunately, our things are a little bit different. He's also like a long-term sub. I've been teaching for 18 years. So I do expect you to at least give me 60% to pass this class. You guys get your grades updated every single Wednesday. You know what you have to do. You have 2 assignments on Math Excel, a quiz and a homework assignment every single week, because I don't assign you guys anything else besides that. I don't give you guys tests in class, so make sure you guys are taking the assessment on Math Excel. But in addition to that, your grades are updated every single Wednesday, so you know exactly where you stand. It's updated on IC, and it's also posted on Teams. So if you're not satisfied with the grade, my suggestion is you need to come see me after school, and we need to have a little conversation about how you can raise your grade. Okay, so for those of you guys who are just in here and you're showing up every day, I just don't want you to get like the false impression that, hey, I'm here every day, why are you not passing me? Well, it's not that I'm not passing you. You have to do the work to pass in this class. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying everybody is going to get an A, because not everybody wants an A. Some people are good with a D. You can get straight Ds for all of your classes for 22.5 credits in high school and still graduate on time. And that's totally fine, but I just don't want you to get the false impression like, oh, eventually she's going to turn my F into a D or a C. And I'm like, no, I update the grade every single Wednesday. If you don't show me the work and you don't put in the effort, that's your grade. It's not going to magically somehow change itself like in week 20 when the school year is over. So I just want to make sure you guys are aware of that. And that way moving forward, because this is the end of week 5, next week is going to be week 6. We need to figure out like, what are you doing, and if you're not on the right path, are you okay taking this class again next semester as a senior? Because next year you'll take this class if you have to redo it, and then another senior level class. You have 2 math classes. But I just want to make sure I give you like little friendly reminders. You guys are an awesome group of kids, and I don't have any classroom management behaviors, but I just want to make sure you guys are aware that, I'm not going to magically change your grade at the end. So the syllabus is right here, as you guys know. But in addition to that, if you guys need any of the, what happened to my cursor here? If you guys need any of the channels or anything that you guys miss, you guys know you have your YouTube channels right here. There are 22 videos now. And so every single thing that we do in the class is video recorded. Occasionally, you'll see like a monkey, baby, bonbon, eat fruit. And that's because my little kids, we share the same YouTube login, so that way I can see what they're doing on YouTube. And that's just them. You don't have to watch that video. You can go in and skip it. But yesterday was Week 5 Friday, and already, if you guys can take a look at this, I upload your video immediately every single day. So if you miss any of the classes, no worries. You have all of the lessons video recorded right there in front of you all the way to week 1. So you can do that and make things up. I don't give extra credit mainly because if you just do the assignment that I asked you guys to do, you'll pass. You know what I mean? You don't have to be good at math to pass this class, but you have to put in some effort and turn things in. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Bottom is the tutoring schedule. I'm here usually every day after school. So if you need some assistance, just come see me after school. Or if you're curious about your grade of how you can increase it, just come see me after school. So this week is week 5. You have week 5 Wednesday, and also the homework, the assessment is the quiz. So make sure you guys have that done by Sunday. It's not a lot. It's 10 questions and then like 8 questions. So 18 questions altogether. All right, so today is Friday. It's the last day of our graphing rational functions and transformation. And then next week, I know Monday there's no school, but that's okay. Next week, we're going to start multiplying and dividing rational expressions. Earlier this week, I taught you guys about how to divide and multiply fractions. Now we're taking, like, throwing in letters in there as well. So that's kind of the progression. And then after that, the following week, we'll do adding and subtracting, and then we'll end the semester or in this unit with solving rational expressions. So that's kind of where we are, and that's your calendar, so you can see where we're going. So today, it's your last day, so yay for that. I'm gonna have you guys make flashcards today. So I'll have you guys come up and grab the materials, but you'll need the following items. You need 10 cards, grab an envelope, a TI-84 calculator, and then an iPad if you need it. So come on up, and you're gonna be grabbing those materials. So here is the envelope. You need to grab 10 of the cards. Where did I put them? This is the question. I just had it last period. Seriously. That's okay. Here's the envelope. Take the envelope, and if I can't find the cards, I'll give you guys sticky notes instead. So everybody just come on up and grab a sticky note. Like, just grab an entire pad of sticky notes, so that way you have 10 notes. And then also grab your TI-84 calculators and an iPad if you need it. I can't find the cards apparently, but that's okay. We'll still move forward. All right, so let's go ahead and continue. So yesterday we talked about this one right here where you guys are graphing vertical asymptote, horizontal asymptote, X and Y intercept. So we did this one yesterday. So if you were not here for that, that's kind of where you missed. And so then today we're going to go ahead and get started off with this question right here. It's going to be on your guided notes. So make sure you guys have that packet. Okay, so it says to graph y equals 1 over x, fill out the table and plot the points. Well, I can either graph this to get a visual idea of what this will look like, or I can fill out this table. So let's go ahead and try to do both. So with your calculator, which I am gonna grab mine as well. Okay, so what you're doing is essentially whenever you see an x value, you're going to replace that x with a -5. So you have here 1 over -5. Well, I don't actually know what that means. You want to put things in decimals, so that way you know how to plot it on your graph. So with your calculator, this is what you're going to do. So here's my calculator. I'm going to go ahead and clear everything up. I'm going to go y equals, so you're going to graph it. And you're just going to do 1 divided by x. And then hit graph. So just looking at this graph, I can see that my vertical asymptote, where this graph cannot touch, is probably right here at x equals 0. And it also looks like the horizontal asymptote. I don't know if it's that 0 because that looks like it's getting really, really kind of close to 0, but I'm not 100% sure, but that's okay. So once you have a graph, this is kind of what it looks like. You're going to go ahead and just go to second and then trace. Okay, so go to second trace on your calculator, and you're just gonna go to values. It's already highlighted right there, so you're just gonna hit enter. And so what this does, second trace, is that you can insert any x value here, and it's just gonna automatically spit out a y value for you, so you don't have to calculate it. So our first one that we did, if you guys take a look over here, is x equals -5, right? So then what I'm gonna do is on my calculator, is I'm just going to put -5. So type in -5. And then hit enter. Okay, maybe it doesn't. Oh, you know what? It didn't like that. So make sure you put negative and not minus. So I'm going to do negative, which is that negative. Whoops, hold on a second. Second, trace, enter. So negative, don't put minus. I put minus and it didn't go anywhere. And then hit enter. And then what is your y value? Isn't it negative 0.2, right? So just fill out that table. So negative 0.2 isn't what's going in there. So negative point, my pen stops working at the most inconvenient time. Okay, negative 0.2. Then you have negative 2, negative 1, etc. So just go ahead and practice doing that. So let's go ahead and insert the next one, negative 2. So you're just going to go to second, trace, enter, negative 2, hit enter again. You get a negative 0.5. Next one is negative 1. So once again, second, trace, enter, negative 0.1. You get negative 10. And again, you want to try to do this on your own because if you don't know where the buttons are, it will be really, really difficult for you guys to do this on the actual test. A negative 0.5, enter. And then finally, you're going to go over to 0. The second, trace, and hit 0, enter. And that gives you nothing. Do you see how when x equals 0, the y, there's literally nothing there? That's because you have a asymptote there. So we're just going to put an empty set. It's not 0. Or you can actually put just does not exist here, DNE. And then we're going to do the same thing with 0.2. So second, trace, .2. That's going to give me a 5. And it looks like it's kind of moving up a little bit more. And then I'm going to go ahead and do second, trace, 0.5. And that's going to be a positive 2. And I'm thinking like at 1, it's going to be a positive 10. At 2, it's going to be a positive 0.5. And at 5, it's a positive 2. Okay. So then let's go ahead and try to graph this. So I'm just going to draw my grid like this. So you should draw your grid as well. And let's just go ahead and plot some points. Okay. So the first one is negative 5.2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's going to be right there because 0.2 is really, or negative 0.2. So it should be on the other side right here. So there's my first point. Then my second point is negative 2.5 or negative 0.5, 1, 2. So it's going to be like right there. And then negative 1 is at negative 10. So negative 1 is all the way down over here. And then negative 1/2 is at negative 2. Negative 0.5 is at negative 2. Okay, so your graph is essentially kind of looking like this. Okay. Then I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing over to the side. So at 5, it's at 0.2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 0.2 is above the x-axis. And then 2 at 0.5. So 1, 2. So that's going to be right there, a little bit closer up. And then 1 is going all the way up over here. So then my graph will look something like this. And let me just check one thing. So negative 0.5. Let me make sure that's correct. in calc. I'm sorry. Hold on 1 second. All right, so then this is what you guys should have right here, and this is your graph. So for those of you guys who are on Zoom, you can go ahead and pause the video and then copy this part down. All right, so let's turn on to your notes, which is this part right there. I know the pixel is not great, and I didn't create this, but I know it's not great. I acknowledge that. One of the other teacher created it. I was like, we really need to redo this one because I can't see as well. So we're going to go ahead and graph these equations, not on Desmos. You're going to graph on your calculator, and we're basically complete the table. Okay, so let's take a look at the very first one. For the very first one, you have, I'm going to rewrite it, 3x minus 2 over 6x squared minus 7x minus 3, right? Number of degrees of numerator. What that's saying is that what is the highest degree of your numerator? It's 1, right? So we just put 1 right there. Degree of your denominator. What's the degree of your denominator? It's 2. So then you have to go ahead and figure out your inequality sign. Well, I don't know about you, but I think 2 is bigger than 1, right? So that's my inequality sign. And then it says, what is the horizontal asymptote? This is the 3 rules that we went over yesterday, okay? So if you take a look at this here, because the denominator is bigger than the numerator, what is your y asymptote going to be? And remember, there were 3 rules that we talked about. The first rule was that if your numerator was smaller than your denominator, y equals 0. That's the first rule yesterday. Second rule was if your numerator is bigger than your denominator, your horizontal asymptote does not exist. Remember? And then if numerator equals the denominator, then you look at the numbers in the front, which is the coefficients. Okay, so those are the 3 rules that we talked about yesterday. And so this one is 0. Ratio of the leading coefficient is basically the number in front. And so if you look at the numbers in the front, you have a 3 here and a 6 here. So it's a 3 over 6. And if you reduce it, it's 1 over 2. That's how we're going to fill out the table. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and go over another one with you guys. Let's go ahead and go over number 5 right here. Okay, so for number 5, degree of the numerator. The numerator, I think it looks like it is a 3. So I'm gonna put 3. Okay, I know the pixel's not great. I apologize about that. Degree of the denominator is also 3. So there we go, 3. It's equal, right? Horizontal asymptote. Well, if the degrees are equal, remember you look at the leading coefficient. So what is the leading coefficient? It's the number 10 and the number 2, which is 5. So y equals 5 will be your answer. And that is your horizontal asymptote. I'm going to go over one more with you guys. Let's do number 7. And again, I know the pixels are not great. I apologize about that. I have told the teacher, I'm like, you didn't redo this because we can't see what it's saying. Degree of the numerator is a degree on top. That degree right there, it looks like a 2. So I'm going to put 2 right there. Degree of the denominator is just x, and so it's just 1. Well, I know 2 is bigger than 1, right? So what this is saying is that your numerator is greater than your denominator. And then if your numerator is bigger than your denominator, y is equal does not exist. Your leading coefficient, if you look at the number in front, it's just 1 over 1, which is just 1. So now that I have gone over 3 of them with you guys, what I want you guys to do is I want you to spend the next few minutes and go ahead and fill out 2, 3, 4, 6, and 7, and just fill out this chart. I think some of you guys are kind of already done with it, which is awesome. But go ahead and take a look at my answer and compare that with yours. See if it's something similar to that. Make sure you guys have the same numbers. The degrees of numerator and denominator might be off by one, in which case it's totally fine. It's not a big deal. But as long as you memorize the 3 different rules, you're good. All right, you guys, let's go ahead and go to the very last part of this. So this is the horizontal asymptote. Okay, so this is kind of like the summary. Horizontal asymptote guides the end behavior of a rational function. So there are 3 different cases, and let's go over those 3 different cases. Okay, so 3 different cases. And the first case 1, 2, and 3. The first case is like the bottom is kind of heavy. So the degree of the denominator, and when it says the bottom is heavy, it's saying like x squared over x to the 5th, where the denominator is greater than the degree of the numerator, which is true because the bottom, which is the denominator, is 5 and the numerator is 2, right? So the horizontal asymptote is always equal to 0 in that case. So just copy that part down. Second case, balanced rational function. Balance means that they have the same. So there's a 3 here and a 3 here. Let's say you have a 6 and then a 3 there. Okay, so if the degree of the numerator is equal to the degree of the denominator, the horizontal is the link of the leading. Is basically the number of the leading coefficient. So if they're the same, it's just 6 over 3, which is 2. That is your horizontal asymptote. You just take the numbers in the front, divide it. Case number 3, top heavy. So that's saying like if x to the 6th over x to the 4th, where the numerator is bigger than the denominator. So the degree of the numerator is going to be greater than the degree of the denominator. There is no horizontal asymptote. So your y is equal to does not exist. And those are the 3 cases. That basically concludes our notes on horizontal asymptote and graphing rational functions. And so for the next 20 minutes of class, you guys have your 10 cards, right? And you also have your envelope. So what I'm going to have you guys do is with your cell phones, you're going to go to this QR code. There are 21 questions. You just need to pick any 10. If there's a question you're like, that looks really hard, well, then skip it because you have 21 questions. You can pick any 10 questions. On your 10 cards in the front, write down the equation. So the equation will look something like this. Whoops. I just do. It will look something like this. So that's what you're going to write in the front. Okay. And then on the back, you're going to go ahead and show your work on how you're going to find and identify the vertical asymptote and the horizontal asymptote. So I'm going to do the first one with you guys. Okay. So for your card number 1, you can write f of x equals 2x minus 4 over x squared minus 2x minus 3. So write that on the front of your card number 1. Let me just make sure I'm sharing the. Okay. So this will be the front of your first card. And also on the front of your envelope, make sure you just write graphing, rational functions, and then give me your name on the front of your envelope. Okay, so now let's take a look at the back of your card, okay? So for the back of the card, you have to find the vertical asymptote and the horizontal asymptote. To find your vertical asymptote, you always take the denominator, set it equal to 0. So just deno equal to 0, just means denominator. So in this situation, my denominator is x squared minus 2x minus 3. I'm going to set it equal to 0. You know you're going to have to factor this. So you have an x and an x on the inside of the parenthesis. And then you ask yourself, what times what gives you a -3, but when you add it together, it gives you a -2. And the only numbers that work is -3 and 2. Because -3 times 2 is -3 times 1. Sorry, that one was like, what is happening? Hold on. Give me 1 second. Let me erase that. -3 times 1 is a -3, but -3 plus 1 is a -2. So then when I solve for this, so x minus 3 equals 0. So when I go ahead and solve for this, x equals a +3, x equals -1. These two numbers are your vertical asymptote. Now let's find the horizontal asymptote, okay? To find the horizontal asymptote, you just look at the degrees, right? The first degree here is a 1, denominator is a 2. So if your denominator is going to be a 2 and your numerator is a 1, the denominator is bigger than the numerator, right? And if the denominator is bigger than the numerator, that means y equals 0. And that's all you have to do. So I did the first one with you guys. Now you have 9 more cards. There's the QR code. You have your cell phone, your iPad. You guys have 20 minutes. Go ahead and scan that and then finish the next 9. So before you guys leave today, make sure you have this done because I'm just going to collect it from you guys in your envelope. Okay. So happy working. Here's your exit ticket for Friday, you guys. Other than that, have a great day. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.